Comfortable. So, gentlemen, good morning. Welcome to the city of FAR. You guys that are not from the city of FAR, welcome. Bienvenidos a todos aquellos que no son de aquí del municipio de FAR. Bienvenidos. We would like to welcome you guys. We don't want you guys to feel relaxed. You guys relax. A little bit too quiet. Okay, so this is going to be more of an open forum, an open dialogue. If you guys have any questions at any given time, you can ask. But we do want to ask for you guys to participate. I know there's some people there connected live stream, which it's a good thing to have. Sometimes it's not. This is something important for you guys, for families, for business owners, to be here in person, to attend, take notes. We want to thank each and one of you guys that took your time from your busy schedule to be here this morning. Again, thanks. Welcome to the City of FAR. Today we have the panel. We have a group of experts from the city departments and also Magic Valley's here. I'm not going to give no introduction, but now I'll let Mr. Bazan, the Bridge Director, Luis Bazan, we're going to welcome here this morning. And also with us, Channel 5 News is present. So, preparen sus apuntes, so be ready. Good morning, buenos días a todos. Gracias por estar aquí el día de hoy. This is something that's very important. I'm surprised there's not that many people here because every time there's a major storm or something takes place in the city of FAR, as far as the crazy weather, the unpredictable weather we've been seeing here lately with these storms and the unpredictable weather overall. We start getting a lot of phone calls, and we get calls about power outages and things that are taking place. And, our business, our job is to ensure that there's continuity of government and continuity of business. We can't do it alone. The FAR Bridge is just one part of the city. Even though you are our customers, you can cross over our bridge. The complete unit is right here. We are a city. We are a collection of folks, of subject matter experts in their own field with many years of experience. And that's why we're here today, because we decided that we wanted to get together and share everybody's knowledge, share contact information, so that at the end of the day, when something does break through or something does come through the valley, we saw some rain activity yesterday. I don't think right now, again, it's so unpredictable. We say there's going to be this and there's going to be this chance of rain or something, but now we're always expecting hail. Now we're always expecting hurricane force winds. And obviously with that comes power outages. And when power outages happen in a cold warehouse, for example, a business cannot resume as we expect. So again, we decided to do this as a city, as a collective, and I appreciate all my colleagues, all our directors from each department for being here, because again, as I mentioned, they're the ones that are going to show you or actually kind of lead you in the right direction. This is for you to be prepared before a storm, what to do during a storm, and what to do after a storm, and how to get back to business, in a timely fashion. Because as we know, business is money, and we cannot afford to stop. At the FAR Bridge, our job is to continue, again, the operation, to continue the flow of legitimate trade, and that's why it's so important that, that everybody is. I hope there's more people online, because what happens is that we talk here, or we get the calls, as I mentioned, but sometimes, we don't listen to our own selves, y tenemos que hacernos caso unos a los otros, no decir, sabes que si ahorita tenemos este problema, hay que sacarlo, hay que hacer las preguntas necesarias, no tener pena de sacar las preguntas, porque al final de cuentas dependemos de cada uno de estos departamentos. Así que por eso yo los dejo. Nada más les quiero agradecer por estar aquí el día de hoy, y a los que nos están acompañando en línea también. Gracias por todos, y sobre todo a mis compañeros de trabajo, a la gente de Magic Valley. Thank you for being here. CBP, que son nuestros partners también, partners in trade, as we say, and everybody else that's here. So I appreciate your attendance, and if there's anything else we can do, please let us know. Thank you so much.
All right, how's everybody doing today, this morning? We're good. Ánimo, gente. I know it's Thursday. It's been a really rough couple of weeks here in the valley. We've seen a lot of showers and thunderstorms, severe weather, tornado even in Laguna Heights, and things have been pretty active this season. And what we're blaming for that right now is El Nino. The pattern is shifting. We're switching from a La Nina pattern to a El Nino pattern. What that means, it's just the ocean temperatures in the Eastern Pacific Ocean. It's one of our largest bodies of water. So whenever something changes in the Eastern Pacific, then we'll see some changes across the area. So lo que estamos hablando es sobre el tiempo severo que estuvimos experimentando los últimas 3 semanas es debido al El Niño y la Niña, donde observamos esos cambios en la temperatura de superficie del océano, del Eastern Pacific, del Pacífico. Debido a eso estamos observando esas condiciones de tiempo severo aquí y también voy a hablar un poco sobre las condiciones de esta temporada de huracanes. So I'm going to talk a little bit about hurricane season this year. By the way, I'm Sergio Puente. I'm a KRGB meteorologist. I will also work with Noticias RGB, so I'm on English and Spanish. My Spanish is a little but we'll work on it. Here's a look at the forecast for hurricane season this year. The forecast, or at least Colorado State University is forecasting 13 named storms, 6 hurricanes, and of those, 2 could become major hurricanes. What does it mean, major hurricane? It means it's a category 3 or more. So that's the intensity of the storm. And we're talking about really strong conditions there across the coast. So the numbers have gone down. Normally, over the last few years, this is the average there. What you see in yellow is the average. Normally, it's about 14 named storms, about 7 named hurricanes, and about 3 major hurricanes. Now, the only good thing about the El Nino is that usually we get a lot of shear. What shear means is there's winds in the upper levels of the atmosphere that break off the tops of the clouds for storms, and that mainly happens in the Atlantic. So El Nino actually inhibits or prohibits some storm activity in the Atlantic, Eastern Caribbean, and the Caribbean Sea and the Gulf of Mexico. So things look a little bit better as far as the hurricane season goes for the Atlantic Basin this year. Of course, we're still forecasting 13 named storms. So the most important thing out of all this is this forecast really doesn't matter because it only takes one. It takes one storm to impact you, and that's enough for the hurricane season, right? Like the storm that happened a couple of weeks ago that everybody was out without power here in the Florida area, that affected you, so that was very important to you. So again, going back to hurricane season, this forecast doesn't matter, it only takes one. Lo que estaba mencionando es que en esta temporada estamos pronosticando que podemos ver 13 tormentas nombradas, 6 huracanes y de esas 6, 2 huracanes mayores que tienen de categoría 3 o más. En estos momentos lo que esperamos, esto es para todo el Atlántico, el Mar Caribe y también el Golfo de México. Lo que se espera aquí en el Valle es que, bueno, cuando tenemos el Niño, normalmente no vemos tantos huracanes en el Atlántico. Esto debido a que los vientos en los altos niveles de la atmósfera, donde no vemos actividad fuerte con estas tormentas. Entonces, esto es el pronóstico, pero esto no importa porque nomás si te impacta una tormenta, eso es suficiente para impactarte tu vida y también pues en tu hogar. O sea, si ves daños en tu hogar, eso es importante. Entonces, es súper importante, aunque el pronóstico dice que no vamos a ver mucha actividad como los años pasados, es muy importante de estar atento durante esta temporada. So, the other thing is that I wanted to mention, my presentation is a little brief here, but what I wanted to mention is to shorten your expectations. I know a lot of emergency managers, officials are usually, they have a preparation for hurricanes and they talk about 7 days out. 7 days out, we're going to do this. 6 days before the storm, we're going to do this. 5 days before the storm, we'll do that. To be honest with you, that's not very likely that you're going to get a 7-day notice on a hurricane. So the thing is that over the last few years, they've done studies and they've noticed that whenever there's a Category 4 or a Category 5 hurricane, it's usually within 1 to 3 days before it makes landfall or it comes up to a Category 4 or 5. So it's really difficult to forecast for the intensity of hurricanes. So the point is, always be ready throughout hurricane season, especially here in the Gulf of Mexico. Usually we get the storms that pop up and they just burst and they intensify right before they make landfall. So that's really important to know. Always stay attentive to the hurricane season, and even during severe weather, things change. Forecast is that, it's a forecast. It's going to change. So you have to tune in all the time to get your updated information. Now, if you use your iPhone app for weather information, let me tell you, you're going to be wrong. Don't pay attention to that. There's not a person that's making that forecast. Nobody is checking that. It's a computer simulation, and it is not accurate. It is completely not accurate. So if your iPhone app says, well, it's going to storm today, and it doesn't storm, it's sunny, then you start to lose trust in the weather, right? You're checking the weather app and you're saying, oh, it's always wrong anyway. And then when it actually does happen, when there is actually a storm, then you're going to be like, well, the weatherman was wrong. No, the weatherman never said that. The app did. So you have to tune in to the news. You have to tune into the news. That's why it's really important. I'm not trying to say it for ratings. I'm not trying to say it for any other reason other than that there's a person that's actually making our forecast. If you watch KRGB, we make our own forecast every day, and we update it daily. So if you watch, let's say on Monday, and we say there could be a storm on Thursday, well, that may change as you get closer to Tuesday or Wednesday. It might be shifting to the next day, or it might be sooner, or something like that. So you have to update yourself every day. If you don't want to update yourself, you don't want to watch television, or you don't have time to watch television or Channel 5, then go ahead and check us out on our Facebook page. There's so many different forms. We have an app as well, the KRGB Weather app, and we update that stuff every single day. So it's important to always check the forecast daily. Like yesterday in the morning, the chance of rain, I'm not gonna lie, it was low. I came on at noon and I started raising that rain chance. And then throughout the rest of the day, we were raising it up to 50, 60%. Eventually it did rain. But again, these things are sometimes the models don't pick it up early enough. So we have to keep adjusting and updating. So that's why it's important to stay informed with reliable information. Don't use your iPhone weather app for weather information. So again, shorten your expectations this hurricane season and any hurricane season at that. Always stay tuned and stay informed for the latest information because it's going to change. Está hablando sobre las condiciones de si estás revisando la aplicación en tu iPhone o en tu Galaxy y dice que va a llover y no llueve. Eso es porque no hay gente que está pronosticando, no hay meteorólogos que están pronosticando esa información. Tienes que poner un poco más atención a la gente que lo está pronosticando, así como meteorólogos en la televisión. Normalmente nosotros en Canal 5 y Noticias RGB, lo que hacemos es, nosotros hacemos ese pronóstico cada día y estamos actualizando todo. Entonces, normalmente, si ves como un cambio de lunes a miércoles para este fin de semana, eso va a pasar. Es solamente un pronóstico, siempre estamos actualizando la información. So, don't rely on just one forecast list. Don't just go on Monday and watch the news and say it's going to rain next Saturday. You have to keep updating, and we're going to keep updating. Another thing I want to talk about is hurricane season terminology, and this kind of goes also for anything. Severe weather watch, severe weather warning. It also goes for tornado watch or tornado warning. This is for hurricane specifically and tropical storm specifically. So for a tropical storm, this is going to be winds that are between 39 and 73 miles per hour. That is classified as a tropical storm. So, and usually that's going to be right along the coast. So once the storm makes landfall, the strongest stuff is going to be right along the coast. Here in Florida, we're definitely more inland. For a hurricane, you're going to get winds of 74 miles per hour or more. That's a category 1. It starts at 74 miles per hour. That's already pretty strong. So whenever you get a hurricane watch or warning, start paying attention. Now, what a watch means, it means that there's conditions for a hurricane are possible within 48 hours. That's very important to know that it's between 2 days. It's between now when it's issued and then 2 days where you can expect hurricane conditions. That's a watch. Now, when there's a warning, that means that it's going to happen within 36 hours that you may be feeling the winds. So another thing to pay attention is know where you are. If you're far, know that if there's a hurricane watch or warning along the coast, that's not including you guys. You have to know whether this watch or this warning is in effect for your city or not. Because most of the time, if the watch is issued, it's going to be along the coast. Let's say that the storm is forecast to hit Corpus Christi. They might issue a tropical storm watch for South Padre Island because the winds may be affecting that region, but they're not going to be in it. So maybe also don't overreact. You know, if you see a watch at South Padre Island and you're in Florida, McAllen, I think you might be good. You know, unless Hidalgo County is under the watch or the warning, then you take action. And so that's just some of the terminology. A watch is 48 hours, a warning is 36 hours. Now that goes for tropical storm warnings and watches, and also hurricane warnings and watches. And then also use communication. Sorry, what does that mean? You have to keep updating and checking what the warnings and watches are going to be, like what the risks are for your location. And specifically on the hurricane warnings and watches, it will tell you what kind of wind speeds you're expecting. It'll tell you if there's storm surge along the coast, or it'll tell you if the biggest risk is going to be flooding. So read the warnings and watches. They're very specific, and they do give you some really good information. Speaking of evacuation routes, let me go back and say it in Spanish here. Para la temporada de huracanes tenemos algo que es vigilancia por tormenta o tormenta tropical o vigilancia por huracán. También tenemos aviso. Aviso es el warning. Eso significa que las condiciones de huracán podrían estar en tu hogar o tu ubicación antes de 36 horas. Entonces es importante que conozca la diferencia. Una vigilancia es 28 horas, es 2 días, y luego un aviso es 36 horas, donde puedes experimentar esas condiciones de tiempo severo, o sea, con las condiciones. Si es una tormenta tropical, viento de entre 39 a 73 millas por hora, y luego un huracán es más de 74 millas por hora. Súper importante saber esa terminology para watch y para el warning. Eso es muy importante. También evacuation routes. So here in the valley, we have mainly 3 main highways. One goes east-west, that's Interstate 2, and then we also have 2 that go north and south, which is 77, which is I-69B, and then 281, which is Interstate 69C. And those are the main evacuation routes. And then there's also some other back roads that you can take out in Starr County that can take you out toward Laredo. So you have to know that those are the main roads. And then also, when there's evacuations ordered, they're mainly going to be along the coast in the beginning. So you have to know where your zone is. You have to know whether you're in a voluntary evacuation or if you're in a mandatory evacuation. If you're in a mandatory, you need to get out because it is a life-threatening situation. If you're talking about a voluntary evacuation, it's probably a good idea for you to leave, but you don't necessarily have to. And all of that is going to be gauged by the county officials, and they will let you know, or city officials, and they will let you know what the hazards will be for your areas. Now, here in the Farrar area, I don't believe that we'll have any mandatory evacuations for any tropical systems, as long as the risk isn't severe, or it's not like a category 3 hurricane, something like that, because the areas along the coast need to evacuate. So we have to consider that we only have those major arteries. There's only about 3 major arteries. So what we don't want is for everybody to leave at the same time, kind of like Hurricane, I think it was Hurricane Rita or something like that in Houston, where everybody left at the same time and they were stuck on the highway during the hurricane. That's the worst case scenario. So we have to do this in order, and the officials will let you know. The National Weather Service will do a good job in letting know county officials and letting know city officials who needs to go and who needs to stay or who could stay. So pay attention to evacuation orders, watch the news and figure that out. And also social media has done a pretty good job lately of letting people know. A lot of people follow all these pages, city pages and county pages and the news. So that will let you know whether you need to evacuate or not. So just consider those things. Evacuation are kind of important. And these are the evacuation routes. That shows you that's Interstate 69C. 281 would be one of the main evacuation routes. And then, of course, there's 83 that takes you up toward Laredo. I know it's really hard to see on that map, but if you need, I can email you that stuff, or you can find it on the TechStop website. And I want to mention that 77 is not an evacuation route. Interstate 69E, the one that goes from Harlingen toward Ravenville up toward Corpus, that is not an evacuation route because that's right along the coast. So the last thing they want is for somebody to be evacuated and then the hurricane comes through and it's right along 77. So that's an important thing. So now we're kind of left with just 2 options, right? 83 and then 281. And then there's also that road that takes you up from maybe the San Manuel area towards Stark County and then up toward Hebronville. I can't really see what the road number is, but it's out there. Again, I can send you that information if you need to. Sergio@krg.com. You can email me for that. So again, those are some of the evacuation routes. And then moving on, this hurricane season, so what we're expecting is less activity in the Atlantic, of course, but we're also keeping an eye because you know that it only takes one to affect you. So again, that's very, very important to remember and to know. We're seeing anymore, but let's see. I just made this slide today and I forgot. Yeah, you have to know what your hazards are. If you're right along the coast, the storm surge is very important. You know, you have to consider what the storm surge. Of course, the wind is also going to be important. Usually, the deaths from hurricane systems or tropical systems nowadays is going to be fresh water flooding, and what that means is just rain flooding. So you consider that water is under that category where it could rain a lot, it could flood, and the biggest risk is going to be fresh water flooding. So there's been a lot of deaths with that. So we have to keep an eye on the amount of precipitation, the amount of forecast rain whenever there is a tropical system. So again, you have to know your hazards before this hurricane season. What are those hazards? Yours is going to be probably freshwater flooding, and then maybe even up to winds if you get a strong tropical system. Then let's see, start building your emergency supplies list. Now, I didn't write the supply list here because you can find that on the internet easily. Just Google hurricane supply list, and you'll find a whole bunch of information. Of course, we're also going to have that information on KRGB. We have our Facing the Fury special that airs on June 1st at 6:30. So you can tune in on channel 5 there at 6:30. We'll be airing it periodically throughout the season. I think we have maybe 4 other scheduled times that we're airing this. But you can watch it there, or you can watch it on krg.com. We break up all the stories, and if you find a story that's more interesting, you can tune in or get on krg.com and have the information there for this hurricane season. Now, resources to talk about, those are some of the links. If you want, you can go ahead and take a picture of those. But most of them are government websites, weather.gov, safety/hurricanes. That will give you a lot of hurricane information. There's also weather.gov/grow, and what that is the National Weather Service in Brownsville. And that's a pretty good resource information. You can find hurricane information there. And in fact, if there's any warnings, if you're thunderstorm warnings or anything like that, tornado warnings, that's the website where they will be most updated on weather.gov/grow. So that's a really important website. That's the National Weather Service page. There's also the National Hurricane Center page, nhc.noaa.gov. That's obviously the National Hurricane Center. You can find discussions there from the Hurricane Center. It's a little technical sometimes, but they have really cool images where it shows you where the risks are for tropical systems. And that'll be updated almost every 6 hours or so. So that'll give you a pretty good idea of where tropical systems may be forming or will form. And then, of course, you got the FEMA websites and things like that. So very good resources for those websites. Now, that's about my presentation. Just something a little brief here, just giving you all the heads up that this tropical season looks like a below average season, but we could still see it. It only takes one, as we told you. It only takes one for you to be impacted and you to be significantly impacted by that. So just, again, stay aware, keep the forecast, keep updated with the forecast, and listen to live, living meteorologists, people who are actually doing the forecast. I know I go into work, the first thing I do is I look at all the weather models, find out what I think is best, and then I make that forecast and I publish that. So when we make our forecast for the weather graphics, it also uploads all that information to our KRG weather app. So as soon as I hit the save button, your app, if you go on that app, it's going to have that information. You can follow me on social media if you want to ask me a question there, or if you want to ask for that map or anything like that. You can follow me on KRG7 on Facebook, on my Instagram, that's search WXTV, and then also Twitter and then my email. Is there anybody that has any questions? Everybody's kind of dead. I know it's like it's been a busy last few weeks, right? Almost there. Have any questions?
¿Alguno de ustedes tiene alguna pregunta para hacer un puente en Canal 5? Eso, en serio, si tú quedaditos, no lo van a regañar, no porque miran a los de City Department, you guys are doing something wrong, no han hecho nada incorrecto. Adelante.
Gracias, no los he escuchado, señores, todavía. Sergio, muchas gracias. Ahora sí sé a quién que leerle cuando vaya a ver el video. Y si no, ya sé dónde venía. Sí. Más que todo, por parte de la asociación maquiladora, nosotros tenemos cómo hacer llegar toda esta información. Solo basta uno. Uno, para que no vayamos a perder gente personal nosotros, en lo personal. Y otro, que nos ha sucedido que con un huracán que se nos viene, se cierra el puente o pasa una desgracia en una de nuestras bodegas, de nuestras fábricas, perdemos un cliente y adiós empresa maquiladora. Una solicitud, pues yo creo que aquí está Luis y todo, si nos pueden proporcionar una presentación y a la vez tal vez las demás para nosotros compartirla con todos los gerentes de los maquiladores. Y eso es lo que queremos estar uno, nada más basta uno. Más vale que digan que somos llorones o prevenir, porque nosotros tenemos que programar si cruza el camión, si va nuestro personal para allá, o viene nuestro personal para acá, y es lo que queremos evitar. Entonces, no sé si tú vayas a ser la persona que nos esté dando el pronóstico de quién vayamos a creer, que nos esté dando el pronóstico al día, para nosotros mandar alertas rápidamente para actuar de inmediato al respecto. Entonces, gracias y te solicito la información, no sé si podamos tenerla esa en nuestras oficinas para hacerla llegar a todos nuestros asociados.
Gracias, pero sí, de hecho, por eso es que está el departamento del municipio aquí, el departamento de la ciudad, está el departamento de media también, están los de comunicación, ellos serían quien podrían, así que enviar ese mensaje a ustedes, o lo pondríamos en las redes sociales nuestras, de la página del municipio, de la City of Park, o del puente internacional. Con eso, I want to pass it on to you guys. After this, I'm not sure. Thank you, Sergio. I know that Sergio has social media. ¿Cuántos de ustedes lo siguen en social media? Come on, don't be shy. How many of you guys do Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter? Do not follow him, gentlemen, sir. I know because there's a lot of times when things happen, I get a lot of calls. Y no voy a apuntar a nadie porque esto no es what I mean. Y nosotros no somos Magic Valley, nosotros no somos el Channel 5, y nosotros no tenemos toda esta información de qué puede suceder con el clima. Y los departamentos adecuados aquí están. Departments that you guys are going to reach out to, they're here today. So for that, I know that Alfredo, usted pregunta del puente, qué sucedería con la aduana. Tenemos a Officer Thomas Garcia, del CBP. Would you want to answer to that now? This is my opinion.
Okay. Sí, primero que sí, como si ya como hay dos instrumentos. Vamos a comenzar con el business assumption. Si los camiones pueden cruzar el puente, vamos a comenzar con face down. Nos vamos a dar traditional release. Los camiones pueden salir, los barcos pueden salir. Ahora nos recuerdan que es posible que el embarque tiene que regresar si hay una inspección que tenemos que hacer o con el chofer. Si los camiones no pueden cruzar por el puente, todavía no lo que se dice es un pero esos camiones van a cruzar como Roma y Progreso y también Brownsville. Y podemos mandar a los oficiales o los especialistas de la cultura a esos puentes para ayudarles. Y nos vamos a compartir esta información con email. Tenemos email de distribution de todos los stakeholders, los agentes aduanales, los importers,
Les vamos a mandar esa información sobre ese email. Y también recuerden que cada mes, el primer jueves, tenemos juntas para traders. Aquí en este edificio, en este cuarto, que todos pueden venir a esa junta, todos también para que pueden tener toda la información, nueva información que es lo que está pasando. Sí, todos pueden venir con nosotros. Pero de verdad, tenemos dos opciones que vamos a comunicar con en el Radio Field Office, todos los puentes en esa área. Pero vamos a hacer todo lo que podemos hacer para continuar con los camiones, con el tráfico comercial. Así es. Más preguntas o comments, questions? In English, so we do have business resumption protocols. If the bridge, if trucks are able to cross through the bridge, what we're going to do is we're going to initially ace down procedures, ace that's our processing system. We'll release the trucks, we'll process them, we'll release them with a conditional release. And that means, though, if there is a possibility we might have to bring that truck back once our systems come online, and either because there's a required inspection or there's something with the driver. And the second event where there's the trucks are not able to cross through the bridge, and also in initiating our business resumption, we're going to work with the other bridges in the valley, Roma, Rio, Progreso, and Brownson. Those trucks can be rerouted to the other bridges. And with that we've done in the past, we've also supported those bridges. So we'll send officers, agriculture specialists, supervisors to go assist with the because those bridges mean that they don't live, and I know they don't have the infrastructure that we do far. But we can go there and we'll send help so they can help process those trucks as timely as we can. But this is all done. These are business disruption protocols for the entire Radio Field Office, which covers the Rio Grande Valley. But that's how we work. And it's also this message will be put out an email. We do have a distribution email that we send out that includes all the brokers, importers, anybody with a stakeholder in the trade. And furthermore, so we do have monthly meetings, the first Thursday of every month. And we have them here actually in this building. The City of FAR assists us with the hosting. And there we discuss current trends, topics. But it's a good way to stay informed for those of you that would like to join us in these meetings. I don't have any questions, concerns about that? The process, CBP?
What time are those meetings open?
We start 10 o'clock. We start at 10 a.m. Yes. And so we host it here. We do hybrid. And we have it on Teams. And with matter of fact, you can just get on the link and include those two. Any other questions, concerns? Ninguna otra pregunta? Okay, with that said, we're going to jump into the city departments. Benny.
Good morning. My name is Danny Rodriguez. I am the emergency management coordinator for the city of FAR. And like everybody else that works for big agencies and departments, we wear multiple hats. I'm also the EMS chief for the city of FAR. So that's my primary job. My secondary job is emergency management coordinator for the city. So when there's a disaster or anything major going on, we're responsible to go coordinate all the departments to respond. It doesn't matter what it is, whether it's a big water line break, whether it's flooding, whether it's a big fire, whether it's a storm, hurricane, anything that happens that with emergency management, and our department is responsible to ensure we coordinate. And so all the department heads in the city go through the training on how to do incident command. And so we prepare, like Sergio said, historically emergency management does 120 hours out, this is what we do. 96 hours out, this is what we do. But you can't predict the weather. I'll give you a little quiz. Did you meet the secretary? So you can't answer. So the fastest forming storm hurricane, it hit the state of Texas. Who can tell me how fast it formed? How many days or hours? Anybody? Any idea? In 2007, Hurricane Humberto formed in 16 hours. 16 hours. That morning, at 7 in the morning, there was nothing. It was a Gulf. At 10, it started forming into a tropical depression. At 1 in the morning, it was a hurricane and went into Gulf. So 16 hours for a hurricane is nothing, right? So that's why we try to encourage that you have pre-plans so that you can prepare. Right? As a city, we can do a lot, but as entities, we encourage you to hey, help take care of yourself because we can't take care of everybody. As a city, we're limited to what we can do. Anything that's life safety, where somebody's life is in danger, we're there. We're going to go in and we're going to do everything we can to save that person. When it comes to property, there's a very fine line as a city when we can step in to help out. Right? Because as a city, then we'd be responsible for everything. So preparing, I know the girls are handing out some information that we printed from FEMA. There's some manuals so that you can be ready. Flooding and storm. Use these as guides to prepare emergency plans so that you know ahead of time. If you have a warehouse where you store a lot of stuff outside that might cause the drainage to get clogged, make sure we pick it up before there's a storm so that it doesn't clog the drainage. On the medical side, I'll give you an example. When we deal with nursing homes have what they call their disaster plans. They have to have them by state law. Part of the disaster plan is finding a sister nursing home, another nursing home that they compete with, but they set up agreements so that if my nursing home doesn't have power for a day or two, I can move all my patients over there, right? I don't know if that's something that's possible here, but maybe having some agreements with other industry, other warehouses where, hey, you know what, I don't have power, but there's power across 281, maybe I can set up an agreement where we can share something. Just thinking outside the box, right? So that we have backup plans. Generators, I know they're expensive, but they can keep your place running, without any issue if the power goes out. Investing in a generator, if that's possible. One of the other things that we handed out was Code Red. It's a little paper that looks like this. So Code Red is our mass notification system that we use for the city, and this is where we notify everybody of anything that's going on with the city, anything major. So if there's a water line break, anybody that's affected with a water line break is going to get a text message, an email, and a phone call if you're registered. Right? So it's important that you register. You can also use it personally. If you download the app, Code Red is used throughout the United States. And so if you happen to be in the city, for example, the city of Houston uses Code Red, if you're in Houston and something's going on, you're going to get an alert on your app that this is going on, or you're going to get a call. If you register personally and you use your email from home or your address from home, then as soon as there's a severe weather forecasted in your address, you're going to get a phone call and an email and a text. And it's going to keep calling you actually until you answer it. It's annoying at 1 in the morning, but at least you're getting notified, hey, something bad's coming, right? And so registering for Code Red for your business and personal, it's good. That way you get those notifications when something's going on. Again, we use it for everything from severe weather to, hey, we have a water line break or we have a planned water line issue, we're going to work on it. And we let those businesses know. It's going to be about 6 hours, it's going to be about 2 hours before the water line's up. Or anything else that's coming up, we notify our community through Code Red. So registering through Code Red is very, very important that you get as much information as possible. Again, going back to the emergency management part is understanding that as a city, our role is limited, and that's why we have everybody here, all the departments, so that you understand what each department can do. Life safety is number one always. That's always going to be our priority is life safety. Somebody's life is in danger, that's what we're going to focus on. And like anything else, we have to prioritize life safety, making sure that our emergency vehicles can get through the city. So sometimes we might have our public works crews clearing the streets versus moving major arterials versus the smaller streets. We'll get to them, but it takes some time. And communication, if you let us know, hey, this is going on in our area, at least we have an idea, okay, now we need to go back and focus. One of the things that I forgot to send out, and I'll share it with the bridge, but there's, the state of Texas uses what's called the PSTAT system. I'm sorry, ISTAT. PSTAT's for cities. So ISTAT, I'm sure you've seen it on the news. that there's a little QR code, use iStat to report anything that's going on. That helps us, right? What the state is looking for is how much damage is out there. We have access to when everybody reports, and then that'll help us get a list of, okay, where are the areas where we need to focus on. It's a big city. Yes, we have a lot of departments, but it's still a big city. We can't have eyes on everything, right? So your help is welcome. Saying, hey, we have this damage here, so that we can go keep an eye on, get our eyes on it, and report that to the state as well. Does that guarantee that there's going to be state funding, federal funding? No, it doesn't. But everything that we report back to the state helps, right? And so sometimes they'll come back with small business loans. Sometimes they'll come back with FEMA help. But it just depends on what we report to them, so that we can get that process started. Anybody have any questions for me? And I'm available all the time, right? And so I think the guys know I'm always sending weather updates to the directors so that we know what's going on. But I'm available at all times. I'm going to give you my cell phone number, so if you have any questions. I would prefer that anything that goes to the bridge so that we get everybody the information. But if you have any questions directly for me, I'll give you my number. It's 249-7183. My name is Danny Rodriguez. But I'll give the bridge as much information that we can disseminate to everybody so that everybody has information. And that's the best course, right? Because I don't want to tell one person one thing and then somebody else doesn't know. That way everybody gets the information that we have. Any changes that come up, we'll let you know. Any questions that you have, then I'll answer to everybody so that everybody knows, hey, this particular warehouse asked this question, here's the answer to that, so that everybody knows. Perfect. Well, I'll be here if anybody has any questions. The fastest forming storm hurricane that hit the state of Texas.
Fastest? Oh, that's a trivia question.
Yeah. 2007 Hurricane Humberto, 16 hours.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I was actually talking about the emergency management. Historically, it's 120 hours out, 96 hours out, but that's changing. And you brought it up, right? Because of that. You never know how fast something's going to form, especially hurricanes. And when I go through our training, that's brought up a lot because in 16 hours that morning, I heard there was nothing. At 1 a.m., there was a hurricane hitting out.
Yeah, that's more likely to happen in the Gulf of Mexico. So with the Gulf of Mexico being so warm, usually we get those tropical systems that just pop up, and sometimes they're not forecast. Sometimes those models don't see that, and eventually you'll get a really strong storm. Like Hurricane Harvey also was one of those. It just popped up. It was off our coast as a tropical storm, and then eventually became a Category 3 storm.
So and again, us preparing, right? What do we have to do to take care of ourselves? So I'll give you an example. If something happens, I'm going to be working, right? So what do I do to prepare my house and my family so that they're okay? Because I'm going to be here, right? And so we should think the same when it comes to our businesses. What do we do to prepare our businesses just in case somebody can't help right away? What can I do to prepare so that we don't get flooding in our building, so that everything's tied down, our insurance is up to date, and if we can invest in a generator, that's even better, right? Because a lot of it, especially with the cold storage stuff, that's really great. We understand that our job is to completely do the help you get back to business back.
Before we jump into fires next, it is important. You guys are here for a reason. You're here for a reason. You guys take notes. You're here because you get flooded, because the warehouse goes, it's without power. HEB is calling, where's my truck at? You guys, you know more. Es importante, usted está aquí por una razón. Todo lo que se está hablando son puras palabras claras. Dice el canal, el meteorólogo, canal 5, dice que solo se toma uno. Y ahorita yo escuchando eso, me pongo a analizar y a pensar si es cierto, solo se toma uno para que sea un cambio drástico lo que tenemos que hacer. ¿Y qué es lo que sucede? Solamente una lluvia que te pone con mucho agua en tu terreno, ya tienes problemas. Seguir hablando de los municipios, en Amoro, el tren, todo lo que se mueve por vía, al igual. HEB, you guys that serve Walmart, everybody that serves, todos los que le dan servicio a esas tiendas grandes, es importante. Y es vital la razón y el motivo que usted está aquí en esta mañana. Si usted tiene una pregunta, hágala, pero es cierto. Solamente se toma uno y solamente toman minutos o horas, pero bueno, no minutos quizás, pero horas, menos de un mediodía, para, por ejemplo, lo que comenta Dan, 16 horas lo que sea el cambio. Y todo puede ser, y estamos muy bien ubicados en otros que no siempre nos suceden así, ese tipo de huracanes o lluvias que nos ponen en situaciones peligrosas y alarmantes. Pero sí, para.
Hello. Sorry, I have a loud voice, so I prefer to speak without a mic, but we'll do this. Good morning, everybody. My name is Rick Dominguez. I'm with the City of Florida Fire Marshal Office, representing the fire department. And same thing we're all here for is talking a little bit about hurricane preparedness. Just kind of copying what Chief Ramirez was saying about making sure that your businesses are safe before anything happens. We will go in, we will try to take care of everybody. We go, no call is unanswered. We will try to get to everybody as quick as we can. Of course, don't be discouraged if the fire department gets there and they leave immediately. It just means that somebody else is having some issues back where they are, or at their location and all that. We do have some flyers that we're going to hand out right now. It's just kind of copying about hurricane preparedness, things to do, things we want to take care of before it hits. One thing that some people are going to mention, something that does go overlooked is pets. Everybody has pets nowadays. And all sorts of pets. We've seen snakes, we've seen birds, we've seen chameleons, we've seen all sorts of pets nowadays. Do we have kits for them? Do we have things to prepare for them in case of emergency? Where are we going to store them? Do we have portable snake containers? Do we have some type of stuff? So that's little things you gotta think about before this hurricane comes through. Like Chief Ramirez was saying, we will respond to, if there's a fire, we'll respond to every call. Rescues, a lot of people sometimes get trapped in their homes, like this last storm that just happened. We had several people trapped in their home, but it was trees that were just preventing them from coming out. We'll get there and we'll try to establish the situation to see what's going on. Like I said, if you see us leave, just don't be discouraged. We're trying to answer as many calls as we can as they're coming in. I believe we had somewhere in the upward, I'm not sure if it is correct, somewhere in the upward of 300 to 400 calls this past one.
So total between fire, PE, and EMS was 1,200 calls.
1,200 calls in hours.
In the 24 hours from the storm when it came in.
So that's we're an X amount of people trying to distribute everybody within 24 hours, 1,200 calls. So it is overwhelming at times, but we will take care of every call every time. We just want to make sure that you all are prepared. Make sure to try to avoid any type of accidents. Something that we can avoid, we'll definitely avoid it. Does anybody have any questions so far? I mean, like I said, it's kind of a lot of repetitive stuff. Another thing is we have one of the representatives from the electrical company here. Fire department gets dispatched to all the power line down calls. Don't be discouraged if the fire department shows up and just puts caution tape around it and heads out somewhere else. We will try to establish that scene as safe as we can, as safest as we can. Make sure that nobody walks into a dangerous area, but at the same time, we do not restore power. A lot of people have that misconception that the fire department don't restore the power. Unfortunately, we don't do that. We try to make the scene as safe as we can, and then we'll pass all that information to our electrical companies. We do get those calls a lot. Like I said, we'll do as best as we can. We'll try to establish all that stuff and then pass over that information. So, like I said, don't be discouraged. We're just trying to answer as many calls as we can. Of course, if it is a life-threatening issue, trust me, we will be there until that issue is taken care of, and there is no more emergency. But like I said, we're the best thing we can do is just prepare as much as we can. I know we're talking about time and hours and all that. It is hard to prepare, especially if you have your home, your business, your ranch. I got animals in my ranch that I have to take care of. Those are things that we kind of want to plan right now. I don't think we have any type of storms, correct me if I'm wrong, there's no storms that we're actually looking at right now. So thankfully not. So that's something we want to prepare right now. And we're late as it is. We should have had that already taken care of. So like Chief Lanier was saying, something happens here in the city of FAR, you can guarantee that we're all going to be here. So we need to make sure that everything back home is safe, so we can worry about the citizens of FAR. But does anybody have any questions? I can do it in Spanish, but my Spanish is rough. Any questions for the fire department? Yes, ma'am.
Can you switch the camera? This one.
Training on site as far as like. Oh yeah, definitely. So if you I'll pass out cards. I'll give you all my number as well, my email. So we do anytime that we can come to your business and do any type of training, we encourage it. We just did a general fire safety training with Emerson Tools the other day, over there on Capitol Drive. And we'll do all sorts of fire extinguishers, fire drills. Any type of training you all ask for, we'll definitely take care of that. And let me give you my number. That's 498-0129. And it's Rick Dominguez with the City of FAR Fire Marshal Office. And like I said, whatever type of training you all need, we'll try to help you all out with anything. We also do, but that's kind of another guy heading it. We do CPR training. That's one of the other firefighters that heads that department. So if you all ever need CPR training or anything like that, I know also with Chief Ramirez, we can kind of get it together and all that stuff. But we'll figure it out. And if I don't know the answers, I'll find somebody that does. Can you repeat the number? 498-0129. Like I said, anything y'all need, we'll be kind of here around the area. So if y'all need anything, please come up to us. We have business cards. Like I said, we have, I think, Fire Marshal Navarro passed out some pamphlets and all that. So if y'all need anything, we're here to answer questions. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Public Works, Mr. Marin, please have the mic there to join up here. Right, yes.
Luis Marin, the Public Works Director.
Sorry, gotcha. My name is Luis Marin. I'm the Public Works Director. I know this is probably a good force for the residents and the businesses, but we want to let you know that as far as for Public Works, our maintenance is done year round. We do our cleaning of the canals year round. We do our inlet cleanups year round. It's something that we just don't do because it's hurricane season. We typically try to focus on hurricane season. We do focus on those low-lying areas, and we do get away from our maintenance routes, and we do concentrate on those low areas that are nearly close to canals or inlets that are close to that canal. Mi nombre es Luis Marín, el mantenimiento de obras públicas no es algo que hacemos solamente en los tiempos de huracanes, hacemos todo el mantenimiento que comienza desde Loaza, todo hasta la península militar y hasta Capo. Y de Jackson a Veterano, pero es un mantenimiento que se hace todo el año. Pero sí, meses antes del huracán tratamos de enfocar en los detalles que ya sabemos que hay y las cosas. Comenzaron hace 2 años o el año pasado, iniciaron a ampliar los canales y el mantenimiento nosotros es limpiar la base de los canales. Y es importante también a la comunidad, si miran algo en los canales, que nos avisen, hablen a la oficina. Hay varias maneras de comunicar con nosotros. Puede ser el 911, puede ser el 311, o simplemente hablar a la oficina y hacer un reporte. El nombre de la oficina se les puede dar ahorita. 956-402-4350. Y allí haremos un work order y abandonamos los trabajos al nivel del canal. Lo que estamos viendo es que no hay opaces, colchones, aparte de sacar o ramas, parte del mantenimiento es limpiar. No cambiar el nivel, solamente limpiar el canal y ahí el departamento se encarga de cortar esa parte de la sangre de los dientes. So typically, our maintenance of the canal is the flow line of the canal. So you ever see a sofa, a branch, I've seen refrigerators, hardness at that number, as long as it is one of the canals that we maintain. So that's another thing. Some of the canals we maintain, and some canals are maintained by the drainage district. Typically what you see is on each end of the canals, if you see a sign, it will have a number and it'll have a number, and that will show you that that canal is in the city. So, and again, it talks about those inlets. If you see inlets and that brush, any kind of obstruction onto the inlet, let us know and we'll block it. So again, it's something that we do year round. Also, another thing is to know what your outfalls are. You have a warehouse and you do not know what your outfall is. Your outfall is typically where your rainwater. You have inlets in front of your property. Where does it go? You might have a canal behind you, canal down the road. Get familiar with it. So typically, a lot of our rates, stormwater system, handle about 3 to 4 inches per hour. So as soon as you get 5, 6, 8 inches of rain in 1 hour, that's a lot for that system. Regardless of whether it's a canal or it's a city system, you know there is going to be stuff like that. What we're looking at after an hour or two, if you still have rain on your street or your property, then that's what we're going to be policy. What's going on the other street. The one beside not the mountain. So then we don't have any obstruction. Una de las cosas que tenemos que ver es dónde se termina la lluvia del parqueadero o aún a dónde se enfoca el agua. Se va para el canal, se va para el sistema de la ciudad. Es una cosa que tenemos que saber si algo se va a parar atrás de nosotros o 2 cuadras, el ver ese canal. El canal está lleno, pues simplemente el agua se va al canal, pero el agua se va al ¿más preguntas para otras públicas? Any questions? Like the officer also mentioned is power outage or a pole not having light. We do get a lot of those calls. We do go out there and we do tag it, but we do look for a pole number, and that is called into our city. And that's how they generate the work. But for the residents, sometimes reach out. Sometimes we put more weight on the resident calls to the light company, which would be Magic Valley or DEP. Then that can be generated. I did hear a story last week where residents, because they somebody had gone 2 days in the park. As soon as somebody called, within 2 hours they had power. Those good for us to move to the residents. Any other questions? Thanks, Mr. Marini. This we'll jump into public utilities with them. So good morning, my name is Roberto Gonzalez. I'm the Public Utilities Director here for the City of FAR. What we maintain is our water treatment plants, our wastewater treatment plants, our collections and distribution systems, lift stations, and metering and all the other stuff. I guess for us, when we help out in the systems like this too, anytime that there is a storm, I kind of wanted a little bit of emphasize a little bit of understanding for you all. If you now have no power, more likely we have no power. So when you start seeing the system starts to back up, we're out there either putting generators or things that need to be put into place to pump out the system. But now it's very different to where I'm at and where Mr. Martin is. I take care of all the sewer, water, that's the distribution system which I take place. Mr. Mario is in the storm, so a lot of these rains that you see come in, that's when it starts to fill in, it's supposed to be going down the storm drains. So my recommendation to all of you all, and anyone out there, do not open manholes. A lot of times we see that happen in different locations. People have an area where they're flooding, so they automatically say, hey, there's a manhole here, let me open it up so the water goes in there. If it's not going to the right place, it starts to back up the system. And we have that happen a lot of times. So we try to go out there, inform the residents and the businesses to let them know. If you do have, for whatever reason, backups or flooding in certain areas, let us know. We'll go out there and do the best we can to attend it. Again, like Mr. Mani mentioned, before any of those systems come up, we have to know where it's going to. So if it's leading into storm drain or canal system, the drainage systems, if it's full, the laws of gravity will not allow it to go in front. It stops there until that flow goes down, and then we push it. So what our job is, and we help out with San Luis County in Public Works, we try to get that water out of those systems. So we know where the flooding is, and we start to pump those and divert it to another area to get that flow to get low. So it's important for y'all to understand that. Same thing with the storm drains. Don't open up or just throw things in there, because all those things eventually back up. Whether it's like you said, that we've actually seen it. We've seen big couches inside some storm drains. We've seen refrigerators, things like that. Those are all things that cause backups to the system. So it's important for y'all to understand and know that, so that when you ask us and we can help out. Same thing, like I said, Daniel, you mentioned it earlier. One of the things that we do before any kind of storm or anything is master, we get together as a team. All the you see here and more, we get together and we start to make a plan of what we're going to do, so that we're ready and prepared for any of the situations that come up to you guys as well. So we try our best to try to do as much as we can. Again, City of FAR, we have 70,000 residents, so it's a lot of people. We go by zones. We have people in different areas. I divide mine into 3 zones. So I'll have crews in one area and crews in another. But if it's something big, then that's where we have to get other people to come in and help out. So sometimes you feel like we're not attending it yet. We're going to get to it. It's just going to take us a little longer because we have to fix each one of the systems that's there. We deal a lot with the water breaks too. I know Danny mentioned it, that code red. Exactly what you guys see there is exactly what we're being informed. So when we tell you all that there's a water break, you won't have any water in certain areas, that information is sent out for that reason. So if you guys are on that app, you'll know it and you'll know what area is being affected. If it's something big, we'll let you know. That's when we bring out that information. But having that app is going to help you all to understand exactly what we're doing and how we're attending it. So my recommendation for you all is definitely get that. But if anything that you guys need as far as that, you can reach my office. It's 956-402-4300.
In Spanish, please. I'm just kidding. I know that's okay. No lo puede hacer en español. We're gonna jump into. We'll go ahead and go to public safety communications. Then we'll wrap it up with IT. Then we'll jump into el más famoso de hoy día, Magic Valley. So,
Good morning, everyone. Kenneth Innes, Public Safety Communications Director. Public Safety Communications is just a real fancy word for 911, right? So my department is responsible for answering all the 911 calls within the city of FAR, as well as the non-emergency lines within the city of FAR. And then we dispatch the units. We dispatch police, fire, EMS, and of course we also operate with emergency management to help get you guys the information that you guys need. To kind of give you a little bit of a glimpse, Danny kind of mentioned it earlier, we had 1,200 calls in a 24-hour period. We average about 120 calls on a normal day, a normal busy day, right? So you can see the huge jump from 120 to 1,200 calls, right? A lot of those calls, yes, they're important calls. They're very, very important to the public. But a lot of the calls also are non-emergency calls, right? So the more non-emergency calls that inundate the communication center slows down the process to kind of get you guys some help, right? So one of the biggest ones, it's always power, right? We always receive 911 calls, asking when is the power coming back on, right? Or 911 calls, can you please have Magic Valley or AEP come out here and restore my power, right? We have no control over that whatsoever. The matter of fact, the phone number that we have for Magic Valley or AEP is dedicated to public safety, meaning that there is a line down on the ground, throwing sparks, live wire, right? Something that is detrimental to human life or property. And that's what our number's for. The number that we give you guys is the number that you could find on your bill statement, right? The number that you need to call to say, hey, my house does not have power, my business doesn't have power, or I have a low hanging wire here at my business that needs to get attended to, and so forth. Doing those small things will help make the system a little bit more efficient so that the emergency services can attend to the emergency service calls, right? So fire department kind of mentioned it earlier, no call goes unanswered. And it's true. When a call comes into the 911 center, right, whether it's 911 or not, we dispatch that call, right? So on a busy day for fire department, you're talking like maybe 20 calls, right? They had 400, somewhere around there, right? So you can just imagine how many calls. I don't think they saw the inside of their station for like 18 hours, right? I mean, it was literally from one call to the next, one call to the next, right? So the two things that I think are the most important about storm is knowledge and preparedness, right? Know who to call, know when to call, know your plan, right? Know everything about your either residence or business. If you know that it floods, there's a part that you need to do to prepare, right? If you know that you have a lot of trees that could become projectiles, or they break, or they're too close to power lines, that's part of your preparedness, right? So we go from knowledge to preparedness. Prepare, have a plan. If you know all of these things in advance, have a plan, right? If you have flooding, what is your plan for flooding? It can't be just call 911, right? If you have debris on your property, whether it's a business or personal, what is your plan for securing that debris, right? Or securing those projectiles, right? Even a personal example, I have a Blackstone. That storm came in. I forgot about it. It became a projectile, right? And if you guys don't know, Blackstone is heavy cast iron grills, right? It made a hole in the side of my shed. So something I forgot about. I knew it, I just didn't prepare for it, right? So knowledge and preparedness are super, super key. We're there to provide a service to you guys. We'll never say no. We'll always answer your calls. If you're calling into the comm center during that type of emergency and we don't answer after the first or second ring, understand that we probably have like 400 other calls coming in. If it's a true emergency, meaning that someone's life is in danger or property is in danger to be destroyed, please dial 911. If it's not any of those two, dial our 7-digit emergency number, okay? Our 7-digit emergency number is 402-4444, 402-4444, right? And we'll get you to who you need, whether it's police, fire, EMS, we'll get you there. If, once again, it's a life or death emergency or property is in jeopardy of being destroyed, dial 911, and we have sufficient staff to make sure that your call gets answered. We do prioritize 911 over the 7-digit number, so understand that. If you guys have any questions for me, I'm more than happy to answer.
All right. Thank you, sir. IT. Give me a couple of minutes. 1 minute. Let's invite Mr. Gamboa, who is a replacement of Mr. Gomez, Roland Gomez. He has a couple of words for the industry. And again, this is not something that you guys are getting after all. You know, it's just how to prepare yourself. No se sienta que lo están regañando, que se están molestos. No, el municipio está aquí para apoyar. Estamos aquí para hacer todo más fácil y más ligero para ustedes en momento en caso de una situación, ya sea en negocio que esté cruzando la frontera o que esté despachando a su cliente final o su producto que tiene dentro de un almacén. Pero sí, Mr. Gamboa, please, you can take that last one there, Mike.
Hello, everybody. My name is Rick Gamboa. I'm the health coordinator and code compliance officer for the city of FAR. We're the smallest department, but like I was mentioning to our emergency management coordinator here, we're the little ants in the city of FAR. If they got 1,200 calls, we got those calls too. 1,200 calls code. They expect us to direct them, help them, and we try. But yeah, power outage, trees, my neighbor's debris, and it's really hectic for the girls. It's like a 911 department there because everybody knows code compliance and health, and they all call us for all their concerns and questions, and we direct them to their different departments. But it's on going back to the assessment of hurricane preparedness. Our first things that we do while the storm is going on is primarily the sandbagging. If we need to help distribute sandbags, that's our primary goal at that situation for people that are in need, immediate need. And the rest is usually the after the fact. We do all the assessments after the storm and the winds have expired. So that's basically our primary. We go and assess, pinpoint, take pictures, send them over to our department heads, and they'll send them over to whoever's responsible for the for repairing or assisting with the damages. The other big things that we get is in the big warehouses, like in the industrial park. We haven't made it to the produce park yet for those type of things, but the biggest things for the warehouses, guys, is cardboard, pallets, and discarded vegetables that you guys just put on the right of way or by the bins, and those are main items that clog up our drainstorm or contaminate our drainage system. So any warehouse owners, here? No warehouse owner?
No va a haber multas. There's no fine. So they just want to know if there's any
Yes, sir, nomás
owners.
le encargo esos tres cosas porque sí son, siempre vamos a hacer unas inspecciones y miramos los vegetales afuera, las paletas o cualquier mugrerito que vaya a contaminar todo el sistema de agua ahí en la ciudad de Fari. Hay también un poquito grande ahí. So that's basically our goal, guys. We're a very small department, but we try our best. So be patient with us. Just give us our call. Our code number for any of those emergencies or concerns is 402 code 2633, and that's for any concerns or questions that we have, and we'll usually direct you to the various departments that we just enforce ordinances, guys. Okay. So any other questions for me? Cualquier pregunta? Anybody? Staff? No. Thank you.
Thanks. IT, please.
Good morning. Buenos días. Soy José Peña, director de sistemas para la ciudad de FAR. I'm José Peña, director of IT for the city of FAR. So as you know, the city of FAR became an internet service provider this last year. We do, again, can say that we do have over 1,100 homes using our services here in South FAR. South FAR is completely lit. We're about to start, and we just started in 3 subdivisions in Central FAR, which is everything north of the floodway up to the expressway. And then after that, we'll be working in North FAR, which is everything north of the expressway, all the way up to Owasa. But one of the things I do want to emphasize, and just more as awareness, right? Because, and more just to clear maybe misconceptions, is that all our fiber is the latest in technology in regards to data and how the internet works. All our fiber is underground. So if you ever hear that our cables are on the electrical poles, that's not true, right? Which I've heard some business owners telling me that. But again, all our fiber is underground the way it should be. Obviously, as you know, we are in an area where hurricanes come through here, and that's really the primary focus why all these networks need to be buried, so that damages don't happen to them whenever there's issues with storms affecting poles. So también para informarles sobre la fibra óptica de la ciudad de FAR, toda la fibra óptica está enterrada bajo tierra. No usamos ningún poste de luz. para mover las transmisiones de comunicaciones, que esos les afectarían durante las tormentas, estando en una área donde pasan huracanes y como han visto, los vientos causan muchos daños y si alguien o escuchan eso, la red de fibra óptica de la ciudad de FAR completamente está bajo tierra. Tenemos más de 600 millas de fibra óptica en toda la ciudad, enterradas, que es bastante. Nuestra red está bastante amplia. Estamos trabajando también, creciendo la red. Tenemos más de 1,100 clientes ahorita usando nuestros servicios aquí en el sur de FAR. Y ya estamos empezando las instalaciones en las casas, en el centro de FAR y luego después en el norte de FAR. Ya empezamos con nuestra primera bodega en la instalación de internet dedicado. Le damos las gracias a la empresa Math Logistics, su bodega, la más reciente que acaban de construir aquí en el Produce Park. Es nuestro primer cliente con la fibra óptica. Tiene 500 megabits de subida y de bajada. Estamos trabajando con él y muy orgullosos de que dedicó transferir su servicio con nosotros. También ya estamos trabajando con las empresas chicas, los small businesses. Ya tenemos también a nuestro primer cliente conectado aquí en el sur de FAR. Este próximo mes va a empezar el marketing, donde van a empezar una empresa que contratamos de marketing para que empiece a dar más comunicación y que hable más con los negocios, porque nos estamos enfocando más en los hogares, que es principalmente los que ocupan el servicio para los niños que hagan las tareas o la gente que trabaja de casa. So again, we will be starting our marketing campaign this next month, and we are very excited that we have signed up Mass Logistics at their brand new warehouse here in South FAR at the Produce Park, and another small business that we're going to be working with them. And that's one of those things that, just to make you all aware, and again, we've heard the rumors, and if anyone tells you, hey, they only work with one provider, our network is what we refer to an active fiber optic network. We have two different internet service providers that we then relay the internet traffic out to the internet. Tenemos dos proveedores de internet que nos da servicio a nosotros en dos diferentes puntos de nuestra red. No trabajamos nada más con uno. Si uno tiene un problema saliendo de aquí, tengo otro proveedor totalmente diferente con otra ruta y yendo por otra parte. Y estos proveedores requieren que tengan múltiples métodos de salir del valle. No es nomás, we're taking the Laredo route. So again, the internet is a world network, how all the networks communicate. So all the networks that we work with have redundant ways out of the valley, right? So some take the Raymondville route up to Corpus and to San Antonio. Others take the Laredo route and then up to San Antonio, or the El Paso routes. But that's how basically the internet works. It's your upstream providers, and that's how it works. We're excited to be able to service everybody. One of the other things I did want to talk to you, and in regards to emergency preparations, it's really important to understand the equipment you all work with. Your data is very valuable for your businesses. So just wanted to make sure that you all speak to your technology staff or consultants or people who you work with, and making sure that whenever you hear any news alert about a hurricane, know that your data is being backed up and have those backup processes, because your data is very valuable, right? It's where you have your customer records, all your purchase requirements, all your shipping orders, right? So your data is very valuable to every business to survive, to do day-to-day operations, and to make your transactions with your customers. So always make sure that you work with your IT staff or consultants or people who service your businesses to make sure that your data is backed up and that it's secured, right? So if you have access to a cloud storage to be able to offload it somewhere, or like we talked about and Mr. Ramirez mentioned, if you have an agreement with another organization, maybe you have sister agencies, maybe in Laredo, where you can, hey, I'll upload my data to you if it's the same company, but at least it's an offsite, right? So for us, as a city, that's our responsibility, protecting and securing our data, law enforcement and city operational financial data. So again, it's where every day our systems back up to the cloud. You know, we can run our servers in the cloud if we needed to, if our servers were to be affected. But those are things to, again, your data is how you all do business. So try to protect it. And likewise, I would just make sure that, or at least us as public agencies in every city and every county in this entire state of Texas, we are required that all our employees take cybersecurity because it's something that happens and is very critical right now that can affect anybody. You know, I just heard the announcement yesterday, right, with the hospital system being affected, that some of their records could have been compromised. And, you know, those are things where we want to make sure that all our employees, right, every employee matters. Everybody needs to know what is needed, that, you know, that they don't click on those emails where they just got their password stolen or they downloaded that document that then affected and encrypted your network, and now you have to pay somebody to get your data back, right? So those are things that, you know, make sure every employee is properly trained on how to identify cybersecurity and malicious phishing emails, because again, that affects your operation, right? It could have been where you have power, you have water, but somebody just encrypted your data and that affected your business, right? So that's very critical. And those are things that are very important. And, you know, at that point, then it affects your operation and obviously how business runs. And again, those are things that are just more common nowadays. Que sepan cómo entender y cómo funciona y cómo identificar emails que no son buenos, para que todos los empleados tengan ese tipo de entrenamiento. Y como les digo, toda ciudad y entidad pública en el estado de Texas es requerido que tomen una clase una vez al año que tenemos que reportar al estado, porque toda la información es muy importante, afecta cómo hacen el trabajo, el día a día, cada agencia, porque si un día pasara algún problema como ese, es muy importante, ¿verdad? ¿Cómo puede una empresa después pagarle a sus empleados o cómo seguir mandando órdenes y para diferentes logísticas de operaciones que tengan? Y por eso es muy importante que todos aprendan un poquito de lo que pasa con cybersecurity y que tomen clases, porque hoy en día, pues ahora hasta en textos te llegan. Y por eso, si no conocen un número, bórrenlo. Y si tienen un link o que bajen un attachment en un email y no es alguien con quien hace negocios o algo que estaban esperando, posiblemente no es bueno, ¿verdad? Solo bórrenlos y para que no entre ningún problema a sus empresas y les afecte, porque sí es un problema que sí es muy grave y nadie quiere estar en esa situación. La otra recomendación es asegurar que usen los que les llaman los surge protectors, power strips, o si es posible y tienen la capacidad de poder comprar baterías de respaldo solamente para las computadoras, lo más importante, porque cuando pase ese corte de luz, las computadoras ocupan luz y a veces se pueden dañar los discos duros, y que es obviamente donde tiene uno la información importante que ocupa su negocio para manejar, si no está en una base de datos. Pero esas son cosas muy importantes. Supe de esta última vez que hubo situaciones con los cortos de luz, un negocio con el que hablé, le quemó los monitores, le quemó los teléfonos porque ocupaba VoIP phones, sobre internet. Se le quemaron 3 teléfonos, computadoras, la máquina de fax, porque todo está conectado directamente a la pared. No tenían surge protectors, no tenían la batería, que son unas muy económicas, depende cuánto tiempo quieres seguir manejando o usando tu computadora, depende 30 minutos, 1 hora, o nada más puede ser con que tengas 5 minutos y que tú ya la puedas apagar apropiadamente. Pero sí, esos, si tienes cualquier equipo conectado directamente a la luz, eso les puede afectar. Y también otra recomendación, si es de que no tienen surge protectors y saben que viene una tormenta o algo, solo desconéctelos de la pared, nada más. Ya no va a haber ningún problema y se pueden evitar de daños que les causarían pérdidas de equipo de tecnología. Pero básicamente son mis sugerencias que les podemos dar, recomendaciones. Como les digo, estamos ya ofreciendo internet a las industrias y a los negocios aquí en FAR. Cualquier pregunta o si gustan más información, la página de internet es teamfar.net o teamfar.net, o si gustan llamar al teléfono, estamos abiertos de 7 de la mañana a las 8 de la noche, es el 402-2000. Phone number is 956-402-2000. That's our customer service line. So if you all are interested in signing up for our services, or visit our website, teamfar.net. Any questions?
¿Alguna pregunta para José? José tenía mucha información.
Gracias.
Y eso es bueno. Y queremos que usted anote todo. Y también si, I don't know, there was a date, a cutoff date for a certain price or cost, right? That's something you guys can talk to them. Pueden hablar sobre, había una fecha de un costo fijo. Le pueden preguntar o llamar a él después de esta situación. Y queremos ahorita cederle lugar a Magic Valley. We want to welcome Magic Valley right now, but yes, you guys can reach out to IT, Jose Peña. And right now we're going to ask Abraham Quiroga, Mr. Quiroga, to please join us here at the podium. And please, I wanted to read a message, but it's too long, and I wanted to play it because I also have voice messages of people that called the Saturday throughout the event, what happened. Freddy, háblale al municipio, háblale a los bomberos. Freddy, háblale a Magic Valley. Pues, I just called him and he's here today, so you guys need to take note and ask any questions, okay? So le hablamos, por favor, just give him a round of applause, because everybody's busy. All these gentlemen are busy. Denle un fuerte aplauso a todos los hombres que tomaron tiempo aquí. And again, Mr. Quiroga, welcome, please.
Good morning, everyone. I'm assuming you guys are saving all the questions for me because y'all didn't get any questions. So, but I also remind you that I'm between you guys and lunch. So the more questions you ask, the later we get for lunch. So, my name is Abraham Quiroga. I'm the Central Division Manager for Magic Valley Cooperative. In my role, I oversee all of the operations for our Central Division, which is east of the Expressway, North Edinburgh, all the way down to the Far Bridge, and then east to 493 Road in Donna. Oversee our call center, engineering, and operations for all of that area. Got a little presentation we're going to go through, and then I'm sure you all have some questions afterwards that we can get to the questions. So I'm going to go through this fairly quickly. A little bit of history of Magic Valley. We're established in 1937 by a group of farmers here in the valley. We're a not-for-profit, member-owned cooperative, meaning we're not in business to make money. We're in business to provide a service to our members. So if you're a member of the cooperative, you're you're an owner of the cooperative. La mayoría de la presentación la voy a hacer en inglés, porque se me acaba el español, pero cualquier pregunta en español, pues a ver cómo le hacemos. Ahí me los pueden dar. So again, we're not for profit member-owned cooperative. We're owned by those that we serve. So if you are a member of the cooperative, you're an owner of the cooperative as well. We have 7 board members that represent our members of the cooperative. They're on the right-hand side, Ms. Adrian Peña Garza. She's the board member for District 5, which is the Far Las Milpas area. So she's a representative for any members in this area. And together, the board of directors represents all of the cooperative from the entire district or the entire area that we service. So. We're headquartered out of Mercedes, Texas. We do have offices in Edinburgh, FAR, Brownsville, and our new office in San Carlos. Many of you all are familiar with our FAR office. That's mainly a payment center. Our San Carlos office, which we just opened up early part of this year, is our main operations center. So during a storm like we had last month, our control center, our entire system is monitored out of that office. We do have our control system that is monitored 24/7, 365 in that office. So at all times, during the day, during the night, weekends, holidays, we do have somebody physically present in that building. We're required to have somebody in that building at all times, monitoring our system, taking calls from EMS, taking calls from fire department, or taking calls for the police department. I know y'all spoke about a number. We do have a direct number that's available for law enforcement. Whenever they call us at 2 in the morning due to a vehicle accident, that call goes into our control center, and then ultimately they dispatch a crew out there. We have crews on call at all times. So whether it's 2 in the morning, 5 in the morning, vehicle accident, tree down, whatever the case may be, we dispatch somebody out there to take care of the situation. So some quick stats. So we cover mainly Dollar County, Cameron County, Starr County. Those are kind of the big counties that we cover. We have about 270 employees, over 5,000 miles of energized line, both underground and overhead, about 118,000 members and 132,000 meters, and sold about 2.7 billion kilowatt hours last year. So big cooperative compared to other cooperatives. We're very small when you compare us to AEP. So AEP is kind of the big one in the area. We're small compared to them, but when it comes to cooperative, we're the third largest cooperative in Texas and 22nd largest in the U.S. South Texas Electric Cooperative. So we don't buy energy. We don't generate power. We strictly distribute power to the members. So we take power at the substation from South Texas Electric Cooperative, which provides powers to 9 other cooperatives across the southern part of Texas and the coastal part of Texas. South Texas Electric Cooperative owns the substations and everything behind that. So transmission lines, substations, all that is all owned by them. They deliver the power to us at the substation, and then we build the distribution lines from the substation all the way to the metering point. And then if you're curious, we do buy through STAC or through South Texas Electric Cooperative, we do buy energy that's generated with gas, coal, and some renewables as well. So in the Valley, you've got AEP and Magic Valley, and then in Brownsville, you got Brownsville PUB. But for the most part of the Valley, you've got AEP and Magic Valley are the 2 lines companies that are in this area. Most of the Las Milpas area is singly certified to Magic Valley, which means only Magic Valley can provide power there. There's some areas that are singly certified to AEP, which means only AEP can provide there. And in certain areas where either one of us can provide power. So whenever we have a development that comes up, whether it's a produce warehouse or a residential development, whoever ultimately gets that development up front is the one that services. We cannot provide power through AP lines, and AP can't provide power through our lines. The April storm, which this is the one that everybody wants to talk about. So I'm going to blame everything. Sergio's gone. I'm going to blame it on him because I don't think we were expecting a storm of that magnitude, and Sergio's already gone, so we can blame it on Sergio. We started getting the call, like many of y'all, early in the morning, Saturday morning, technically around 1:30, 2 in the morning. My phone started ringing that we had at that time about 20 or 30,000 people out of power. At the height of the storm, we had about 55,000 members that were out of power that Saturday night, going to Saturday morning, due to winds of 80 plus miles per hour. So when Sergio gave his presentation, for a hurricane, it's up to 74 miles per hour for hurricane winds. We had winds at 80 miles an hour that were not expected, that hit overnight. And unfortunately, Las Milpas and the Alton area for us took the brunt of that storm. That's where the most of our outages were. That's where we saw most of the outages for us. So if you look at the map, and this map's available on the website, kind of the western part is that Mission, Las Milpas area. The Mission, Alton area, all that red. And then as you go south, it's all the Las Milpas and South Par area. That's where the bulk of our outages were. We had outages scattered throughout the entire system, but the bulk of our members that were out were there. By the end of Sunday night, so all day Saturday, all day Sunday, at the end of Sunday night when we went home, we had 4,000 members still without power. So that was a pretty big number. To get almost 50,000 people or over 50,000 people back on with a matter of 2 days for a storm that wasn't expected was pretty impressive by our crews. We run our crews roughly 16 hours, 16 to 18 hours. So typically we're getting out in the field at 6 in the morning, and then we're sending the crews home by 9, 10 o'clock at night. We're sending the crews home for some rest because we needed them back up there the next day. The crews ran Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and into Wednesday. We had a few stragglers still out of power come Wednesday, but the bulk of the members were back up by Monday. I think we were down to maybe a few hundred that Monday evening. So outages, we had everything from trees, we had broken poles, we had debris on the line. You name it, we saw it. As you came further south into Las Milpas and as you went further west into Alton, you started seeing some of the destruction that the storm caused throughout the valley. And we had, I'm sure you all saw, Exxon had some gas stations where the entire canopy was blown over. We had trampolines up in the lines. We had a carport up in the line, una cochera de aluminio que estaba en las líneas. We had an entire carport up on the line, so it's not something that you can just go quickly remove. It takes power. It takes time to get that stuff cleared out off the power lines. So many times, you may not see that destruction right across the street from you or down the street from you, but that power line that serves you ultimately stakes max all the way to a substation, and that issue could be somewhere else that maybe you don't see there, but it could be 3 or 4 miles on the road, and that line may be down to where now it's affecting your house or your business. Here's just some of the destruction that we saw, and this is throughout the system. So a lot of broken poles. The photo on the left was actually a carport from across the street that completely wrapped around the line. We got some broken poles throughout our system. That's a carport on the left. That was in the Alton area, and on the bottom right-hand side, you'll see the amount of trucks and the amount of manpower that it took just to get that part of our system back on. And those were the individuals in Alton that were out, I think, until Monday or so, and we got that back on. So that's not something that you just go pick up and move. It takes time. It takes a lot of manpower. We had 2 communications towers or internet towers that were wrapped around the pole, that were wrapped around on the lines. We had to make contact with the communications company that owned those towers to come in and clear the line or clear the tower for us to be able to restore power. One of those was affecting Shoreline Water Supply Corporation, so we couldn't get that water plant back up until the communications individuals came out here, cleared their stuff off all lines so we can get Shoreline Water back on. So just a couple of pictures. I don't have the one of the carport, but we had an entire carport that had gotten picked up and was laying between the communications lines and our lines. So we had to get that taken off before we could get those individuals back on. For outages, so on the website, you can go on there and monitor our real-time outages. So we do have an outage map where you can view what's currently out. This was actually yesterday afternoon as some of those storms were coming in. The blue dots on the north side, you can see some small outages that had already popped up as that storm was coming in. But in here, you can see if you're out of power, if that area is affecting your area or not, and then how big it is, right? So if I go back here, a few slides. So in the Mission area, for example, if you're part of that red, we know you're out of power and you're part of a bigger outage, right? So we know already, we're aware of it. We still recommend that you report the outage through the website, so that you still go on here and that you report the outage, because what happens is as we start restoring power to the bigger numbers, you may be part of what we call an nested outage. So within that big outage, you may have an issue that's affecting just you at your house or you and your business, right? So there may be a tree that affected a fuse that just services your business, and we'll see that later on. But the initial focus for us is to get the biggest amount of people back on first. So as we bring up a line that maybe serves 5,000 people, within that line, we may bring that line back up, but there may be some nested outages that we'll get to those at the very end, right? Because if we have an outage that's affecting 100 people and one that's affecting 2, we're going to go to the 101 first to get those 100 people back up first, and then we'll come back and worry about the 2 at the end. So we typically tell members, if you've got one fuse that just is affecting your house, you're going to be one of the last ones to get restored, because we're going to try to get as many people back on as possible. I know y'all talked about phone calls. So Saturday morning, or I guess that Saturday throughout the day, we had over 7,000 calls that came in just Saturday into our call center. We had about 40 some odd employees that were activated to answer phone calls. And of those 7,000 calls, we probably answered about 3,000 calls or so that we actually got to answer. A lot of those individuals were on hold, they hung up, and they said, hey, I'll try back later. But we had about 7,000 calls just Saturday alone. That's not including what we had Sunday and into Monday. On average, we'll get about 1,500 calls a day. That Saturday was about 7,000 calls just for that day. One of the things that we recommend a lot is, and this is a shameless plug, but download our mobile app. You can report your outage through there. It goes straight into our system, and it'll flag your account as being out of power right away. If you're part of a bigger outage, when we restore that outage, we do what's called we ping a meter. Basically, we send a signal to the meter. If that meter sends a ping back saying, "Hey, I've got power," then that order for your particular account gets deleted. When we bring up, let's say, a large piece of line back up, 5,000 people, we ping your meter. If we don't get a message back from your meter, that means that you're still out of power, even though the other 5,000 people might have already come back on. So I recommend download the app, save your information on there. It's extremely easy to report the outage from there. You don't have to call in. Anytime we have a major storm like this, whether it's a hurricane or just an overnight storm, our call center gets inundated and gets flooded. We do have call center reps that we're working overnight to field some of those calls that are coming in at 2, 3 in the morning. But the bulk of those calls are coming in at 8 in the morning when people are waking up, and everybody's trying to get into the call center. And we can only take so many calls at a time, and then that starts backing up the what we call the queue. So highly recommend download the app so that you can report the outage on there. If you don't have the app on the website, so when you go to the outage map, you can report it on there as well. You're going to need your account number, meter number, or the phone number that's associated with the account. But again, highly recommend you do that. I can give you the 866 number, but the best way to do it is through the mobile app. It's super easy, super convenient. For us, it creates a ticket automatically for your account and lets us know that you're out of power. One of the things that we get a lot is how long is it going to take for us to get restored? And it's hard to give a date or a time because we just don't know the full destruction that we're dealing with. So whenever we have a storm of this magnitude, the first thing that we do is we send crews out there to patrol the line. So we look at where the major issues are at. The crews will go out there, they'll patrol the line. The line can be, can encompass a few miles. They've got to drive the entire line to see where the issues are at, and then they come back and they start. If they see that the issue is way towards the end of it, they can sectionalize, they can open up certain points to try to get certain members back on. Or if they say we patrol everything, hey, nothing's wrong, maybe lining hit it or something, and it caused the line to open up. Once they patrol the line, they can close in a fuse at the substation and try to get as many members back on. Patrolling takes time. You have a feeder that comes out of a substation, goes down the street, then goes north and south, and then goes east and west. So it takes a while to patrol the line. We're typically doing it right after a storm when there's a lot of debris out on the road, when there's a lot of people out on the road, and our guys are driving big bucket trucks and pickup trucks as well. So the patrolling takes time. We don't just go to the substation and energize, because if we have a line down on Cage Boulevard or on Military, potentially we could injure somebody by energizing that line without patrolling it. So the first thing that we do is we go out there, patrol the line to see what the issue is, and then see if we can get those members back on. The other question that we get asked quite a bit is, how do you determine who comes on first? So we do have certain accounts that are flagged as what we call critical infrastructure. So for us, anything having to do with hospitals, nursing homes, water treatment plants, law enforcement, the FAR bridge, prisons, all that, those are critical infrastructure that we need to get up as quickly as possible. We're required to do that by the state, and we're required to focus our efforts first and foremost on those. After that, we look at critical accounts. So for example, HEB, we consider that a critical account, because if you're out of power, your food spoils, you need to be able to get food. You got to go to HEB, or you got to go to Walmart. You got to go to if there's a shelter that's available. Let's say PSJIC has some shelters. those become critical accounts for us. So we're going to try to focus on those first and get those up. And then after that, we start looking at all the other accounts. We do get calls from the Texas Department of Emergency Management or TDM saying, hey, there's a nursing home that's out over here, or hey, there's the Far Bridge is having issues. We've got good relationships with Luis and his staff, so they'll call us. And we try to do whatever we can to get them back on. Unfortunately, sometimes there's a bigger issue there that it's going to take some time, right? So, for example, that outage in Alton, it took about 2 days to get that entire line back on. So even if I had a hospital that was there was just no way that I could potentially get them up because I've got multiple poles down, or I've got a carport that's wrapped around the power lines. So that's how we determine who comes up first, and then who we leave to the very end. So some of the things that we're working on. No surprise that the Valley has been growing significantly over the last few years. We add anywhere between $15 to $20 million in plant every year. That's new poles, new wires, whether it's for a new subdivision, whether it's for maintenance, whether it's just poles that are aging already or lines that are aging. We add anywhere between $15 to $20 million each year to our plant. So we're constantly growing, constantly maintaining our system. Again, we're not in business to make money. We're in business to provide a service, and for us, reliability is extremely important. That's why we're here to provide that service to you all. Vegetation management, or tree trimming. We spend about $120,000 each month just on tree trimming alone. So it's an expensive bill. Most of the outages that we see are related to trees. A lot of people don't want us to trim their trees. Don't want us to take down their palm trees. We hate palm trees, and I can say that because they cause a lot of outages. Many times you'll have a palm tree that is 40, 50 feet away from the power line. We can't do anything about that because it's outside of the right of way. But when the winds blow from the north to the south, it'll take that palm frond, and I don't know how, but they always find the power lines, and they have the thorns, so they'll stick to the power lines, causing that power line to open up. The best time for tree trimming for us is shortly after a storm, because you got a member who says, just give me back on, take the tree down, I don't care, just get out of here, I want my power back on. So, but unfortunately, when it's nice days like this and we're out there trying to trim trees, a lot of members don't want us to trim their trees because they like the way they look, right? So it's got to be a balance between that. Anything that's in the right of way, we can trim it. Anything that's outside of the right of way, unfortunately, we have to get permission from a homeowner, from TxDOT or whoever may own that property, for us to go in there and trim that tree. One of the projects that we're currently working on now, if you go down the Military Road, the guys are actually working on it today. We're upgrading a span of wire. It's about 20 spans of wire along Military and Cage. We had some old wire there that, again, there's been a lot of growth in that area, and we're trying to keep up with the growth. So we've got a project right now that we are currently working on now. That project alone was about $140,000 just for that one project there. So that's 20 or so poles that are being affected. We're upgrading the size of wire there to increase reliability, because that wire has fallen a few times because it's old wire, it's brittle, and with all the demand that's been going on in the area, it's been failing here the last few months or so. That's a project that we've been trying to push out. We're actually going to start it the week of when the storm hit. The crews were scheduled to go out there that Monday, and it got pushed back due to the storm. But we were out there yesterday, and the guys are already out there running new wire. So that's going to help out that Military and Cage area as well. We've got STEC has two substations that serve the far Las Milpas area. One of the substations is Highline on Highline Road, and then the other one is Las Milpas, which is right off of Cage. Both of those substations, again, are owned by STEC. We have been working with STEC to add some additional feeder breakers, which basically allows us to bring out another line out of that substation to pick up more load, because we have been seeing a lot of growth. A few years back, the Highline substation, there wasn't a whole lot of load on that Highline substation, and over the last 10 or so years, we've seen a tremendous amount of growth down there with a lot of the produce companies coming in and setting up shop there in that area. So that's put a strain on the system. Again, we've been trying to keep up with that demand, and we've been working with STEC on that area as well. So And then just regular maintenance. So I know they talked about here about regular maintenance on drainage canals and sewer systems and all that. We do the same thing. So our crews and our inspectors are constantly out there, one, connecting new power for new members, but also doing maintenance where it's needed. So if they're out there, they see that there's an overgrown tree or there's a pole that's leaning or whatever the case may be, they're making orders to get that stuff cleared up so that when storm season comes, which we're in it right now, that'll reduce some of the outages that we see. So that's all I have for the presentation. I know y'all may have some questions for me. Any questions? Cualquier preguntas que tengan, feel free to ask. Let me off easy. So, again, we're here to help out. If y'all need something, let us know. Again, my name is Abraham Quiroga. I do have a couple of my employees here. Fred Ayala, who's our engineering manager for this area, and then Jonathan Sloss is our business development rep for this area as well. So if y'all need something, by all means, reach out to us. We're here to help out however we can. We understand, for those of you who are in the produce industry, we understand what an outage, creates for you all, especially if you're in the cold storage side of it, right? You have the potential of losing a lot of merchandise, a lot of produce, and obviously that's going to impact you all at the bottom line. So, we recommend, especially if you're in the cold storage, look at generators. We cannot, unfortunately, we can't guarantee service because of Mother Nature. We highly recommend that if you have the means, invest in a generator so that if you do lose power, you can support yourself for a couple of days and allow us to get power back restored too. So I know it's a costly investment. If we can provide you information, whether metering information, whatever you may need, again, feel free to reach out to us and we can help out with that. Any questions? Thank you. Ready?
Thank you. Me da un poco de sonrisa. It's a little bit of swagger, me reo, porque pregunten. Ahora es cuando preguntar. Aquí tenemos a Magic Valley. But again, thanks. Thank you, gentlemen. A cada uno de ustedes, gracias. One more. La ley, the law. FAR PD is here. Lieutenant Luengo is here. He has 1 minute. He's on the clock.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Lieutenant Jose Luengo, and I'm with the FAR Police Department. Currently assigned to bridge operations for anybody that, usually goes down south and coming northbound. We're located just north of the bridge operations office. You'll see a gray trailer there. There's a big poster outside with the PD logo, man. So if you ever have any questions dealing with, how the PD works with bridge operations, the traffic, and all that good stuff, we're there basically 24/7. There'll always be somebody there that can help you. So I can give you a phone number at the end. If you have any questions, please give me a second. I promise I'm only going to take about an hour in what I'm going to say. I know it's closer to lunch, and I figure 1 hour is sufficient. That was a joke, I said. Not going to take that long. So real quick, thank you so much, Freddie, Luis, and Fred, and everybody and staff for having us here. I won't take much of your time. Really, I just want to kind of reiterate what a lot of the colleagues had already mentioned here on the set, and really a lot of it for us is going to be your planning, right? Are you proper? How's your planning coming along on that end? The police department basically works and feeds off of what every single entity the city has, and we just help and support in anything that they got to do. Our main area or responsibility for us is really we work a lot of the Las Milpas area, far south area, but really more where the warehousing district is at and anything that has to do with the commerce going, import, exporting, northbound, southbound. So we try to help out as much as possible. So I'm here today also to ask you, please, once we get into a situation where it's going to be that there's a storm, things of that nature, one of the things that we usually see out there is, or the questions that we get asked is speeding, right? And so how are you guys doing it with the speeding? Obviously, the 18-wheeler is a little bit bigger and whatnot, right? So we ask to please help us out on that end. Just please, if you can communicate to all the partners to make sure that we're careful and be mindful of what's going and what's happening, right? There's a lot of water. Some of the areas that do get flooded, we do try to have an alternative route so that we can continue to move the traffic. For some of you guys that have been working here or have been going through the FAR Bridge, you'll see that sometimes we'll have a situation where we're a little bit backed up on traffic, but trust me when I tell you, we have an excellent, well-trained team of officers that are working at the FAR Bridge office. Right now, we have about 10 officers that work in that bridge that are experts at this point in being able to handle the traffic, rerouting traffic, and things of that nature. But we want you to come through FAR at all times, trust me. Sometimes some situations dictate that we kind of work a little bit outside of that. So please help us out on that end. One of the things that we do get asked by a lot of businesses in the area that you'll see along Cage is when we're stalling on traffic, or even if it's a storm, or you see some flooded areas and things of that nature, is we do get a lot of traffic that covers the intersections. So sometimes what that happens is other vehicles that are trying to travel, or because an 18-wheeler is a little bit bigger than a regular vehicle, then they won't be able to see. So we ask you, please help us out on that end if you can. But aside from that, if you guys have any questions, our phone number really attaches more to Mr. Ennis's department, which is going to be 402-4700. And that'll take you directly to the operator, and they can connect us to our bridge. So, but what I'll do also is I can also give you my extension number, which is going to be 402-4823. 4823. And we would love to have every single one of y'all. If you guys have any questions regarding how it is that we handle more of the responsibility in the area, please join us. And we'll have some coffee. We usually have some sweet bread as well. We've had some people come over and visit us and talk about, hey, how can we work on this? So for us, it's really more, how do we help you guys? We're not in the business of hey, you're doing this wrong or you're doing that wrong. But more than anything, we want to educate. We want to work with you guys. Just how do we make the whole situation better? One last thing, if you have any questions, I'll still be available after I'm done here. Anything that I can help you out with, please don't hesitate in reaching out. I know Freddie only gave me about a minute, and I'm looking at my clock, and so I'm like trying to serve as much as possible. But thank you so much. Thank you so much, guys, for everything you do. We appreciate you. And we just ask you, think about us when it comes down to safety. And thank you so much. God bless everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Officer Lieutenant Luengo. Before we end this, and we're going to invite Luis for some closing remarks, I want to remind you guys have a QR code there at the front. Tienen ustedes un código de barra ahí donde ustedes están. Le pedimos un minutito que tomen ustedes. Todos tienen un iPhone or un Android or I don't know what other phones, Cricket or whatever, Just please take a minute and complete and fill out that survey, por favor. Also, you guys have some literature there front. Magic Valley, can you please raise it up? Vanessa, can you please stand back there? Vanessa's going to be back there with Cleo. This one right here, that one, it's yours. Take it, please. Todo lo que está ahí. Cada papel, documento es para ustedes, que se los lleven. Si ocupan más para sus empleados, you guys need some more for, to pass around your office or your warehouse. Vanessa back there, she's going to have some, please, okay? And again, we want to thank you guys, but with us, closing this is Bridge Director Luis Bazan. Luis?
Real quick, thank you, Freddie, and thank you to my colleagues. Thank you to our partners. Thank you so much for doing this. Look, I want to send a quick message to the trade community, to our customers. Es bien importante que nos acompañen en este tipo de sesiones. Se toma mucho esfuerzo, se toma mucha planificación para llevar a cabo un programa como estos, aunque no lo crean. Y les quiero agradecer a ustedes, los que están aquí el día de hoy, porque tomaron su tiempo o los dejaron venir, como dicen, ¿verdad? Nos dieron permiso para asistir. Porque como lo pueden ver, sin este tipo de información, a veces andamos como gallinas sin cabeza, ¿no? Y no sabemos a quién hablarle, qué hacer, ni nada. Así que se les agradece a ustedes, pero por favor, si tienen alguna personal también en sus empresas o conocen empresas que querían venir, se apuntaron, pero no llegaron, por favor, ya denles el mensaje, que es bien importante que nos acompañen en este tipo de eventos. Y bueno, con eso nada más de nuevo agradecerles, espero que les sea útil toda la información que se les haya proporcionado el día de hoy, y cualquier cosa siempre sigan contando con nosotros en el Puente FAR, con el equipo de la ciudad, con nuestros amigos en CBP, con el Departamento de Bomberos y sobre todo también con el Departamento de Luz, como le llamamos, ¿no? Así que no, muchas gracias por acompañarnos, y bueno, parece que ya terminamos a tiempo porque teníamos de las 10 a las 12 y con eso concluimos el programa. Gracias.
Thank you.
Una cosa, Danny me dijo que si
please.